All right, folks, hello and welcome back to online English class. Today, we are going to be using the screen record function to talk through your Unit 6 review guide. All right, so most of this work I want you to do independently as this is our last unit test for the entire year and should be an evaluation of your quality and your progress as an analytical writer that you've made throughout the course of the year. Okay, so I am not going to offer you sample thesis statements that you could use in your own test. I am ultimately going to require you to develop those kinds of claims independently, all right, and as independently as possible, okay? So in pursuit of that, let's quickly just run through our top of the week announcements, and then we'll get into our brief overview of the Unit 6 review guide, okay? First and foremost, make sure that you are taking care of your discussion grade procedure on a daily basis. Second, make sure that you email me confirmation of OTNs 8 and 9 by today at 3 p.m. Okay, so that's for a dual-weighted homework grade. You want to make sure that you get that in. Okay, beyond that, you need to make sure that you are preparing for your Unit 6 test. Okay, your Unit 6 test is due on Friday at 3 p.m. Once you begin the test, you can only have access to your novella, all right, the text of your novel, and also your note card. Okay, everything outside of that, you cannot have access to once you begin writing your test. In preparation for the test, you can use your notes, you can use whatever resources you want to have access to, but when you start writing it, it's you. Okay. Also, make sure that you're working through your quarter 4 essay. That's going to be due May 18th through the 22nd, so you can give it to me as late as the 22nd. All right, so let's go ahead and take a quick look at the Unit 6 review guide together in a little more detail. All right, so first and foremost, this test is going to take the shape of an open-ended analysis essay. That means that there is a wide array of evidence and techniques that you can use to support your interpretive thesis statement. All right. Ultimately, I am not evaluating the areas of the text that you take me per se. You can take me to a wide range of areas of text and interpret them and connect them to your thesis. I am rather evaluating your skill at selecting and organizing those textual details into a coherent and well-reasoned defense of your interpretive thesis statement. Okay, so this is great practice for those of you who want to take, say, an AP language class or an AP literature class, or to continue on your writing into college. This is the kind of assignment, the kind of line of reasoning that writing at those levels are evaluated according to. Okay, your ability to select evidence, explain that evidence, and connect that evidence to a coherent interpretation that is written in prose that are clear, concise, well written. Okay, so well organized, well evidenced, well written. That's what we're looking for. Okay, two different prompts. All right, honors prompt, a little more sweeping, a little more open, a little more challenging in that sense. Okay, using your own independent analysis. Okay, so using your own selection of text, using your own analysis of that selection of text. Interpret the significance of Marlowe's character development throughout his journey. Okay, in other words, how does Marlowe, our protagonist, develop or change? How does his perspective change throughout the course of his journey? All right, and I qualify this. I add a little more specificity. I want you to concentrate on how Marlowe's worldview is transformed by his pilgrimage. Okay, so an answer to this question that would be insufficient would be Marlowe changes because he leaves Europe, goes to the Congo, and then comes home. Right. Well, that tracks some developments in the locale of Marlowe's character. All right, where he is. Right, where in the world is Marlowe, San Diego? But that does not speak to the way that Marlowe's worldview transforms from the beginning of his journey to the end. All right, how is Marlowe's worldview transformed by his pilgrimage? How does he view his world? Now, listen, we've already talked about this as we define that term worldview. That's an important term for my literature classes. I like to discuss the ways in which people view their world, all right, what they believe to be true about that world, okay? I think it's a fascinating thing to do, and I think it's a good thing for students to consider critically in their English classes. Now, remember what worldview entails. All right, when we talk about worldview or life view, all right, what we mean is both the way that a person sees him or herself, what their nature is, what their destiny is, what their purpose is, the telos of their existence. All right, and anytime you answer that question, you're also by extension answering another question: who gave you that telos? Where did that telos come from? If it came from somewhere, what is the source like? All right, in other words, what are the transcendent forces or the supernatural forces in control of this world? Are there any? If there aren't, what does that mean about the nature and the destiny of man? Okay, and also worldview entails the way that you view the actual earth that you live on. All right, and it's not only its physical properties, okay, like for example, we can put certain elements of the earth into test tubes or under microscopes, and we can understand using the skills of scientific observations to derive rational understandings of our environment. Right, I don't just mean rational understandings of the material world. I mean the sort of metaphysical characteristics of that world, what that world's nature is. Has it been designed by someone who is giving it an ultimate purpose? Is it fallen but being redeemed? Is it as it should be? Okay, as Voltaire would argue. What kind of world do we live in? All right, that is all entailed in the question: how does Marlowe's worldview transform throughout the course of his journey? Okay, so that's your honors prompt. I need a thesis statement that then therefore articulates very clearly how Marlowe's worldview transforms. Do not, I repeat, do not say Marlowe's worldview transforms. Okay, that is simply, all right, to restate what is already implied in the prompt. The prompt tells you that it transforms. I'm asking you how, from what to what, and why is that important, and how do we know it in the text? Okay. Cool. So that's how you would answer the honors prompt. All right. What about the regular prompt? Well, the regular prompt is a little more targeted. Okay. You have to select 3 pieces of text from 3 different key moments in the plot. All right. So whose job is it to identify those key moments? You. All right. What do I recommend? Identifying 3 key moments that span the plot. All right, not that are all in the same area of the plot. That's not going to give you a good analysis of how Kurtz is characterized or develops over the course of the plot. Okay, but rather, if I'm asking you for 3 key moments that characterize or help illustrate the development of Kurtz's character, then you ought to select 3 key moments. All right, from various areas of the plot. All right, then you are going to write an essay that analyzes and articulates how these texts illustrate Marlowe's understanding of Kurtz. Okay, so how is Marlowe's understanding of Kurtz developed and illustrated in these 3 pieces of text? Okay, you should consider specifically how Marlowe's understanding changes from an idealistic hope to the acceptance of a dark reality. All right, so the regular prompt is much more targeted. You have the parameters of the tasks are clearly set up for you, right? Select 3 key pieces of text from 3 key moments in the plot and explain how those areas of text illustrate Marlowe's developing understanding of Kurtz and who Kurtz is and what he means. All right, so both for honors and regular, you guys have not only to show your ability to read and analyze and understand the text that is in front of you, but you also have the responsibility to write an essay that is reasonable and well structured, that illustrates the fact that you are on the line, that you are progressing toward college readiness. All right, what are those on the line college ready skills? Well, if you ask the Florida State Standards or you ask the College Board's AP language standards for college level writing and college ready writing, basically, all right, there's a ton of overlap in those standards, all right, and because ultimately good writing is good writing. Okay, and what do good writers do? Well, number one, they follow writing processes. All right, they generate ideas about the prompt. After generating ideas about the prompt, they construct a central claim that answers that prompt fully, completely. Then they collect evidence to support that claim. Then they organize that evidence into a coherent line of reasoning, a series of body paragraphs that develop smaller assertions, right? in topic sentences that support the thesis. Okay. And then what do? Okay, well, they write it, right? If this were a multi-draft essay, you would edit it. Okay, this is a test, so you don't have to edit it. It's just your first draft. You get that draft out, you send it to me. Okay. You also need to show your ability to write an interpretive thesis statement that is properly placed. Where does it go? Into your first paragraph. Why? Because it's a convention in academic writing that helps clarify what exactly you're trying to say. It needs to be clearly stated. It needs to be defensible. What do I mean by defensible? I mean to say an interpretive claim, right? Like, for instance, it needs no defense to say that Marlowe develops as a character as he moves from Europe to Congo back to Europe. Okay, that is obvious. Now, when you get into interpreting how his internal worldview is transformed, that requires some textual analysis. That requires some defending. Okay, so when you offer an interpretive thesis statement, it requires defense, analysis of the text. Okay, you should show your ability to write body paragraphs that include assertions or topic sentences that are relevant interpretations or relevant claims that help support your central claim. Okay, so you could think of it like this, right? Your overall central claim is what articulates how Marlowe's worldview transforms overall, and your topic sentence for your body paragraphs is going to claim how in this particular portion of his journey his worldview is expressed. Okay, then you're going to transition into another analysis, watching how it develops or transforms. Okay, very similarly for the regular prompt, right? How does this particular piece of text illustrate Marlowe's understanding of Kurtz at this particular moment in his journey? Okay. Now, you also need to show your ability to select relevant and sufficient evidence. Okay, so your job is to show me your knowledge of the novel by selecting areas of the text that actually warrant interpretation and analysis. Right. So if you take me to portions of the novel that are not related to Marlowe's transforming worldview, or are not are only sort of secondarily related, or they're not the best expression or the most poignant expression of that transformation, but just sort of vaguely related, then it shows me that you haven't selected the right kind of evidence. You haven't selected the most persuasive and compelling evidence. Okay. You also need to develop an organizational pattern that is logically unified in support of the thesis. Okay, the College Board calls this a coherent line of reasoning. All right, in which every portion of your analysis is all logically linked back to your interpretive thesis statement. Okay, so again, college-ready writing, hugely important for you to be good at organizing your thoughts coherently under your thesis statement. And then finally, all right, think through each of these 5 elements of English language conventions that help make your writing clear, concise, easy to read, okay, so that you're introducing quotes effectively, your prose are readable and clear, your sentences communicate complete thoughts, you're correctly using your verb tenses, okay, so when you're talking about events from the story that are happening in the story, you're using the present tense because it's happening as we read and engage with the text. But when you're talking about events from, say, Joseph Conrad's life or day and age or a period of history, then you use the past tense. Why? Because it happened in the past, right? So very reasonable kinds of choices to make. Make sure that you're using your verb tenses consistently and appropriately. Make sure you are introducing and citing your textual quotations, the page number that your quotations are coming from. Make sure you clearly and correctly punctuate the end of sentences, okay? Demonstrating your understanding of when a thought is complete. All right, and also that you correctly punctuate within a sentence, demonstrating your understanding of how to use commas, semicolons, and colons even when necessary, okay? So if you haven't mastered all those elements of writing, then make it a part of your studying process, right? Go back, review these rules, and make sure that your reading reflects those standard conventions, okay? So whether you're in honors or regular, all right, you're both writing an open-ended analytical essay, all right? The regular prompt is much more targeted. The honors prompt is very open-ended. Okay, but both of them require you to write a reasonable, effective essay. That's because whether you're in honors or regular, you're still expected in an English class to progress as a writer and ultimately to progress toward the ability to consistently and in a variety of rhetorical contexts express reasonable interpretations or reasonable arguments or reasonable explanations of information. All right. Have a great day. Make sure that you are faithfully preparing for this test. In the end, it's up to you. It's a choice that you can make, right? You can either ignore this information and simply sort of spit out some kind of weak draft on the day of the test. You're completely free to do that, right? Or you can diligently work through this and reap the positive consequences, the positive benefits of excellent work. Okay, both the internal and external rewards, right, of that kind of good work. Okay, so it's up to you. It's your choice, and I just would offer you the kind of counsel to make sure that you're doing your best work here as we wrap up the year. All right, have a great day.